Hi, Willa. Today's November 19th, 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic sent me home from NASA back in March. I've been teleworking ever since. Earlier this week, I went to NASA to do some security badging stuff. And while I was there, I decided to bring home some of my metal whisker collection. So let's have a look. This first one is a zinc-plated lag screw, zinc-plated steel. It was given to me by Dave Gilbert from Southern Illinois University as a thank you for some help that we gave him during a time where he was helping to investigate the causes of Toyota's unintended acceleration problems. And some of those events were linked to tin whiskers growing from the accelerator pedal assemblies. This one was given to me by Dave Conwell, Lockheed Martin in Denver back in mid-2000s. Zinc-plated bus bar, zinc-plated steel. This bus bar was used, or one of its twins was used, in a ground support test. And it was in a vacuum chamber, and the zinc whiskers shorted out and caused a horrific metal vapor arc. This is a radio tuner assembly given to me by Frank in Denmark. And let's see, Frank collects Grundig radios and other types of old vintage radios. This is a 1960s era Grundig radio tuner. And the variable air capacitor. You see the movable and fixed capacitor plates. But out here on the frame, the steel frame has tin plating and massive tin whiskers growing all over it. Let's see if I get a better view. How's that? There you go. This is an electromagnetic relay, tin-plated case, tin-plated hook terminals. Relays like this have been used in lots of equipment, but in particular satellites in space. The Galaxy 4 satellite comes to mind, where tin whiskers shorting between the hook terminals and case would cause, in a vacuum environment with high current and enough voltage present, led to metal vapor arcing failure modes that basically disabled several satellites in space. This is a dummy load given to me by Michael in the UK, and it's got tin plating on it. This one's a little bit hard to see. I'm not sure if my camera's going to let us see, but there's tin whiskers growing massively along this this part of the shield here, right next to the pin, and on the inside of the shield. Basically all over the place in there. Here are some tin-plated D-sub connectors, a variety of them. These ones happen to be made in China, but that doesn't really matter. It's the tin plating that caused the problems here. I ended up writing a guide-up alert about these particular connectors. Some of our programs were intending to use them in ground support testing equipment. We advised them it was a bad idea when they found lots of whiskers growing. These amber-colored ones are zinc-plated D-sub connectors and connector savers. Let's see, this one right here actually was sent to me by a fella in Singapore, works for an aerospace group in Singapore. They were using these and found zinc whiskers growing everywhere on them, and then cleaned them with rubbing alcohol and a cloth. And then he sent them to me, and a few months after, the whiskers were regrowing. Let's see, zinc-plated steel from raised floor computer room tiles. This is from the underside of the floor tiles, a sheet of steel that's bonded to a wood core, and zinc whiskers growing ferociously from these underside of the floor panels would become dislodged during handling operations and then waft into the airstream and be redistributed around into the electronic equipment above the floor, causing massive short circuit failures, knocking out data centers. This is a nice one. These are just your standard issue office binder clips that have zinc-plated steel handles, so zinc whiskers growing all over those handles. There's another one back here. Very nice. Up front here, these wires, thick wires, are zinc-plated steel used to make cable trays, also often used in data centers for routing cable nicely and neatly around the data centers. And again, the rubbing, handling causes these whiskers to become detached and drift and fall down into equipment, causing shorting problems. And a tin-plated card guide from the space shuttle. And there's This particular one has traveled all over the world with me, to Europe, to Japan, Europe a couple of times, and all over the USA as well. And I use it and shown it around so many times. 1,000 people, I would imagine, have seen this particular rail at conferences and other places. And I use it to educate people about how whiskers grow and why they're a problem. And this one, because it's been handled and shipped and traveled and banged and touched, it's lost a lot of its whiskers. Some of them you can kind of see glinting down on the sticky paper below that I put in there to try to collect debris. Lots of hairs and dust and lint and other crud got in there too. But anything that's kind of glinty on the bottom there is definitely a tin whisker that's become dislodged through handling. Up front here, I guess I forgot to open the case. This is a tin-plated lock washer. It was intended to be installed, actually had been installed on hardware for the Hubble Space Telescope, but it was subsequently removed when a mindful technician realized that the bright, shiny finish on these particular washers was different than they were used to and accustomed to. And that's because somebody had swapped out the normal tin lead-plated washers for some bright and shiny tin-plated ones. And the story goes that the technician knew the hardware was being built for NASA and decided that it must look nice and shiny, and swapped out the much favored tin lead ones, the dull and gray ones, for these shiny, bright tin ones. And there's tin whiskers growing all over it, so thankfully they caught that before they got installed. I think that's a wrap, except I almost forgot. The Tin Whisker Brewing Company, located in St. Paul, Minnesota, opened their doors back in 2014. And I was so lucky to get to go there back about 3 days after they opened, because there happened to be a work meeting happening in Minneapolis that same week. So I got to meet the guys and actually got to give them a framed tin whisker infested space shuttle card guide for them to put behind the bar. And that's it.